Welcome to the Scene Weekly podcast, where we harken back to our college debate days and pick two movies with the same theme to engineer time machines and toss on our engineers' hats to unlock the secrets of the universe. This week's episode is focused on the best 1985 sci-fi movies. Strange, I know. With real genius traveling to Brazil. Come join Jonathan and Stephen for another week of hopefully less plot chatter and more of fun times. And welcome to the world of ours.
We're all in this together, Jonathan. We are all in this together.
We're all in this together. Yes, that's correct. Going back many episodes. Hopefully, my boom mic can come, because this might end up disastrously. It's already fallen while practicing. Yeah. So we'll see. If it falls, it falls. If it dies, it dies.
You just need to stop doing jujitsu near your boom mic. That's the thing. Just trying to take it down. What are you doing? Armbar?
Yeah. Do you like Beavis and Butthead?
Again, I wasn't allowed to watch it as a kid, so it flew right over me. Never saw it.
You could go back. Start with the movie Beavis and Butthead Do America. Start with that. If you like that, you're gonna like it a lot, like immensely. The show is terrific. Still,
all right. I like the essence.
Watch now, by the way.
Oh yeah,
I think.
Well, we are traveling back to 1985 to watch some older movies. How did we get here?
I don't know. Well, the logic in my brain was basically this. I offered, generic, I guess, themes for you, and you're like, I want to be as specific as possible. And then I just randomly in my brain was like, 1985 was going to be our year, and I was like, sci-fi. And then I looked up 1985 sci-fi. I was like, this is great. Like, really good. Primarily because I wanted Brazil, but you took it. And real genius I hadn't seen in years, and was delightfully surprised. I thought it was going to be terrible. Like, really bad. I thought it was going to be really, really, really bad. But it worked out. It wasn't a Johnny Mnemonic, I don't think. We are overlooking Back to the Future 1, by the way.
Yeah, we skipped over the quintessential sci-fi of 1985.
Yeah.
In favor of real genius. And that's okay, because this is a good experiment to see these two films back to back, immensely different, coming out in the same year. From I can't believe that I hadn't seen either of these films until this watch.
Are you sure? Still, even Brazil, are you positive?
Brazil, here's the thing about Brazil, man. It's one of those movies that I was thrown off by the title, and then I saw like an image, and the only image that I saw, or two images, I saw like a baby face mask, and I was like, no, this looks horrific. Like something is just strange and murderous going to happen. And then I saw like the woman's face being pulled, and those are the only two images I saw of this film. And I was like, probably not for me. And I didn't do anything research about it. I didn't know anything about it really going into it.
That's good. And the third or fourth image would be like of the dude flying with fake wings.
Yeah.
Any one of those would throw you off for sure. But I'm surprised, because Milt and I actually watched this for the first time like 2003, I want to say. At old Coach's house in the woods. I remember watching it there with him. And I was like, what just happened? Like, what is this? But I love it, because I love Terry Gilliam. I love Monty Python. He's the only American in the bunch, but or non-UK
He's
British
British
guy.
American, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. He left his what is it called? Anyway, he's a British.
Defected.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know.
You will? I don't know.
Where does it see me? But nonetheless, 1985 sci-fi with this path of us just choosing the most random dates and times and genres, but it's endless supply of themes, I think.
Yes.
But nonetheless, let's see if we can find the most random themes possible.
What were you doing in 1985? What was old little Johnny boy doing?
Hanging out, probably Still trying to learn some words, talking a little bit here and there. It's 4 years old, 3.5, and just Florida, doing the Florida thing.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you?
I mean, words were a distant horizon. It was more of the goo goo gaga kind of stuff. Trying to crawl maybe. I was but an infant in the year of 1985.
Do you consider yourself an infant now?
Infantile in some ways, sure, but trying to progress each day.
You are getting your baby sleep.
I did. I was a little late for this podcast, to be truthful. Sorry about that. But I woke up early, and then I decided to go back to bed, and I set an alarm, and I just kept hitting snooze. And
Do you normally set alarms?
No, I don't. I usually never set alarms, but I knew I had to be up and at 'em for this podcast, and I'm a little groggy, little fuzzy headed, but that's okay. We're gonna make it work.
You're a real genius, It's a real genius.
Thanks.
Bought a guitar recently.
Oh yeah?
Been a load of fun.
Are you strumming away? You still got it?
Strumming away to a future that's bright. Yeah.
You said it's like riding a bike.
It is. I went to a Korean barbecue place and had lots of soju, and then right next door to it was a guitar center, and I was just like, everyone, we're going to Guitar Center, and I'm buying a guitar immediately after this. And they're like, I don't think this guy's truthful. And then we walked in, and I just was like, yeah, this looks good. 5 minutes in, probably. I was like, that's it. I'm going. And here it is over there. You want to see it? No.
You want to play us something? You want to do a little play us the theme song of Brazil?
No. Maybe next week I can learn something. I need to be set up. It is like learning or having learned to ride a bike, but I'm not great. I would say I'm better at the bike than I am the guitar.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And not great.
You got a little dust. You got a little dust on the fingertips there, huh?
I do. Yes. But real genius. What are your thoughts on these two movies collectively? 1985. Enjoy them?
I did. I did enjoy both of them in different measures. And I think you would know which one is weighted higher on the golden or on the glasses list of things. But yeah, this was a weird week traveling back in time to 1985 and to these two movies back to back. One really feeling like it's from 1985, like steeped in 1985, and the other like has this like Orwellian film noir, like not really futuristic because all the technology was like it was like retro future, but it still felt timeless, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Brazil is not meant to be a futuristic movie. It was meant to be in the time period for which it was shot and filmed, according to Terry. Old Terry. We're on a first name basis. But yeah, which is interesting. I would imagine there's probably like classes taught on that single movie, like whole classes, like because you could just unpack it for years.
That's why I'm saying like this podcast is tough because we try to give equal footing to both films, but I literally probably could talk about Brazil for 2 podcasts.
You could just talk about offices, like their offices and like what's included in it, and just I don't know. I like when nothing makes sense. You know, when long time ago, about a year, actually, I think this is episode 50. I like things to go all the way, or at least far enough to make it weird and strange. Absurd, I guess is the word. And some movies tend to not do that, I would say. In the Loop would be one in particular. But this, Brazil, it's like, we're all the way in. The walls are breathing. Everything is possible. And I love that. Where anything is possible.
Yeah, you talk about world building a lot, and like the world that Terry created. Can I call him Terry?
You can. TG?
Yeah. It's just the world building is incredible. Just the way that he just fills the imagination with what this. I mean, we don't even know what Brazil is. We don't know where they are in the world. We don't know if they're
Yeah.
in London, Chicago, New York. It doesn't matter. But you're in this setting, this scenario, and the way that he builds it is just incredible.
Well, why don't we get into it? The truth shall make you free.
Yeah, I got all of the propaganda posters and everything like that. There's a bunch that we can talk about from this movie. But anyways, where should we go first? Should we set up Val Kilmer and Real Genius and talk about laser?
I guess. That'll be the easier transition. Sure, why not? Real Genius. Named after you, Stephen. 106 minutes. Martha Coolidge was addicted after reading the script and was like, this has got to be made. 1985, of course, PG comedy sci-fi, 77% on Rotten Tomatoes, 8 budget, 13 box. And when science whiz Mitch Taylor arrives at Pacific Tech as a freshman, he's paired up with genius senior Chris Knight to work on a laser project. What's fucking cooler than that? Lasers, and also like the technology, allegedly, I read in the trivia of IMDb, is all accurate. And the stories that are actually compiled from real stories at Caltech and at Cambridge and the like.
They didn't need to go that far. They didn't need to.
I think they did. I thought I don't know if the closet actually made sense to me, but in real life, Mitch initially doesn't care for Knight's slacker attitude, but is eventually won over, and their friendship allows them to make new progress on the laser project. It's only when the boys learn that the government intends to use the laser as a weapon that they start to question what they've actually been working for. As somebody who's read the book Rosie Revere, Engineer, have you read the book? You haven't read the book. You don't have children. We have, siblings that you could have read it to, or your nieces and nephews and the like. But nonetheless, Rosie Revere, Engineer is a book that is just stuck out in my brain because I read it so often now. That it's reminded me of the book coming to life, more or less.
Oh, do tell how those are connected, because I'm sure it's a page turner, but I haven't read Rosie Revere.
Oh, it's a children's book, but it's basically making helicopters from a child's perspective, and kind of like going back to the well and ensuring your project is getting lift. But nonetheless, it just reminded me of Rosie Revere, Engineer, because they're engineering things here and there, bringing things to life.
Yeah, halfway through this movie, I was just thinking of Dr. Evil and the lasers.
Yeah.
And that's basically what he set up on his moon base, is a laser beam that could just
yeah, it's a pretty good idea. You could definitely use it in terms of war. I couldn't help but thinking about the orange juice, the people drinking orange juice, and you. So anytime I see someone drinking orange juice now, I just think of you immediately. I know this is sore topic. People on the back end, I think this is episode 4, something like that. But yeah, a very fun, hilarious, like introspection of a movie where shocking. I don't know how my score is gonna manage to come out in terms of glasses, but honestly, throughout the movie, I alternated between I can't believe this is a movie, and then it's saying like this is the mid '80s. Of course, this is the movie, and this is what all movies in this time period were. And then it hits you with like amazing framing and colors, and the directing is like excellent. And then Val Kilmer opens his mouth about something stupid, and then the next line is like something like genuinely like hilarious but cheesy. Like, are you Chris Knight? I hope so. I'm wearing his underwear. And I was like, I love that line because I'm gonna steal that immediately. I totally forgot about that. Terrific line.
Yeah, terrific. And I broke this movie down into like 3 separate kind of genres, where you have like almost like the Hogwarts Harry Potter, like this, the kid gets the ticket to go to the new school and be with all the other brilliant kids, and he's picked. And then you have the Chris Knight character, who is kind of a slacker, and then you see all these like montages of him like studying, like these like Rocky montages of him like, I'm going to study now, I'm going to do the right thing. And then the last part of the movie is like an Ocean's 11 like caper, like we have to go in and steal the laser. And do all the, and they make popcorn. Like it's just it's hard to wrap my head around something of a movie of this type, but I just went with it, man. And yeah, it's the 80s and it was fun.
Are you a fan of the montage?
Yeah, when it's done right. And I mean, there was a couple of montages in this film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's when it's done right, but I think you can, like Rocky 4, I think there was like half the movie was just montages, and it's like, okay, we get it. He's training to beat the Russian. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's
You
interesting
know,
to say the least.
in terms of laser inventions and the like, I I thought I was like, and this is like seventh grade, I want to say. We had to invent something besides like rhymes, because I just think of you like, I created all these rhymes. I'm Eminem. Oh no, those are not his. Anyway, so I thought I was a genius, and I was like, oh, people they can go camping. Why don't I create a battery powered toaster? And I was like, oh man, you could just like carry this toaster with you and you can go camping and have toast. I don't know why toast is like the number one thing camping in my head. Bread, a toaster, boat. Dumb kid. And I connected it, and it clearly did not work. And then I brought it to, still dumb. I brought it to the store and I was like, do you know why this doesn't work? And I don't remember the reply, but the look that the guy gave me was like, you're not gonna you're gonna be going to community college or worse or worse. And that's when I realized there's different style. You know, wattage matters.
It does, yeah.
To heat things up. But did you ever have to invent anything in your whole
Um,
like career?
Gosh, that's a good question. Science fairs and things like that. Like I remember one time I for a science fair, like I was trying to test different sunscreens, and I got different pieces of leather and put sunscreen on it and put it under a UV light, and it like did nothing. And I had to tell, I had to tell the teacher like, sorry, I thought the leather would act as skin, and it doesn't. It's like already cured, and
And this
yeah,
is why we have a podcast, folks. Clearly.
yeah. That's why they didn't
Oh,
need to have all of the University of Southern California come in and help with the jargon of the lasers. They could just tell us, "Hey, this laser is pretty powerful. It's got 120 watts." Like, you know, that works for me.
yeah. I like Val in this role. Val Kilmer. He was terrific.
I do too. He kind of reminds me of, just watching this, like almost like a Tyler Durden character. Like he just wears the craziest
Yeah.
things, kind of does
Yeah.
his own thing, lives the way that he wants to live, doesn't care.
They in a variety of the scenes, it reminded me of somewhat of my college days. Not with lasers per se, but just being completely destroying basically your habitat. And I
Oh yeah, having
remember
like an ice party in the movie.
yeah, having an ice party would be the example, direct example I was going to provide, but one in which I don't know if you were there. The slip and slide party. We're just like, oh, we should make a slip and slide in our house. Can you like at the lofts? Like we got a slip and slide, put soap down, and everyone just came in the middle of winter in their bikinis and trunks and just fucking went ham. Which of course proceeded into everyone getting obliterated and drunk and ruining basically the house. The second part to that is Kenny. I think we're past the statute of limitations here. Um, Deciding that it's going to be best to play darts basically with his door with a knife, and so we started doing that. And then of course there's holes in it, and they were like, "Well, we should just take it all the way," and we like basically ruined the whole door and ripped it off the hinges. And it reminded me of the ice party, like of just complete and utter destruction, and college students have no concept of responsibility, or at least we did not. Now it wasn't my place, it wasn't my idea either, but I certainly was there for the pushing of this. But it was true to home, true to the story.
Yeah, I don't think it has to be your idea to find you anywhere liable for the damages that occur.
That's true.
Case in point that you did go to court for certain parties. Um,
Let's be clear. First of all, I wasn't even there. There was a multiple keg party, the beer Olympics, that I actually wasn't even there that night. I came back. Our I don't want to say his name, still alive. He our the owner of the house. He lived right down the street. Was very angry with me, and I was just cleaning up everyone's disaster. And I was like, I wasn't even here. I don't even know what happened, man. I just got back. And he's like, oh, okay. Um, and then I did, yes, was responsible for the next party, which happened like the next week when we had a LAN party. If you guys know what those things
Halo
are,
party, yeah.
Halo, yeah. And he just barged into the house, and you like telling the story, so why don't you go ahead and say what he did to me?
I like it. I prefer you just tell the story because it's better.
Well, I was in the midst of entertaining people, setting up our our two rooms, and it's our house is completely packed. Also, the whole street is packed with cars.
We're just
like
playing
a,
video games, though. We're literally just playing video games.
yeah, like having a blast, having a college night blast. And he just barges in, which illegality number one. Proceeds to find me, or I proceeded to find him and be like, "What? Are you here to play? What's going on?" Like, I think we're gonna crush you. And then decides that he wants to put a finger on my chest and very, very harshly just stroke my sternum a few times, and which we did happen to use that against him in an official manner. But yeah, we tried. He tried to evict us, which he effectively did. But nonetheless, a fun time. I would love to have a Halo party now. It'd be great.
I mean, that story fits so well into just like these two movies of just fighting dictatorship and oppression and just wanting to live your life under your own house.
Oh, Jim. Won't say his last name, but Jim. Miss you, Jim. Still
Fun
alive. Still lives
times.
on that same street too. But yeah, just I mean the movie itself. Other than there are different sections of it, but I have a few questions. One in which is, what do you think? Like throughout the movie, what did you think was in the closet? Because there was a man that goes inside of the closet, comes out of the closet. It's like, what is happening in that closet? Does he live in the closet? So, what did you actually think was happening? Because what actually, in reality, I was like, never would have guessed that ever. Like, this is wild. It's kind of like the Terry Gilliam just went in, got an idea, your imagination just ran wild with it. But what did you think?
Yeah, it was one of those things where it's it's so weird in this movie because there's not a lot of absurdities. Like the whole plot of the movie is absurd, but just the fact that he sees this weird older guy going into a closet. I thought it was like a ghost. I thought we were going to go into like another genre of film with this film because we got the heist, we got the Hogwarts Academy. Like, just let's go ghost. You know, that would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Let's just take it up another notch. Lasers. You never can stop with lasers, right? You ever jumped the fence before? I was reminded. I've. It's been a long time since I've jumped fences, and I feel like when I was a kid, I jumped fences all the time.
Yeah, I jumped a fence when I lived in Austin to get into a music festival called Fun Fest. There was like this like kind of like area of lax security,
Mm.
and it was just an opportunity of not having to buy the $50 day pass.
Did you add the fourth fun to Fun Fest?
Oh, I was the fourth fun.
There we go.
That's what happened.
I have to say the soundtrack. I love the soundtrack overall. I'd like to actually go back and listen to the songs one by one, but terrific. I like the montage scenes. I thought they went well. Did it add a level of cheese? Of course they do. Montages do all the time, all day, every day. But the editing was like far and above what I recall. The directing was far and above what I remember, and it was just like a first watch for me. But I think I actually started saying pardon when I watched this, probably when I was maybe like 10, something like that. I chose to say pardon because I thought it just sounded smarter. And again, I was a pretty dumb kid, and I'd be like, "What? Huh?" And then I think this movie influenced me to say pardon. That's why I say pardon now instead of what? Huh? Anyway,
Well, at
I'm
least
I'm
something good
deceiving the
came out of it.
masses. I think many things did. My
You could also
imagination
say,
grew.
"Excuse me."
I don't like that either. Yeah, but I have to say, when there it's something reminding me of this when people are reading books. I'm just looking at a fictitious book in my hand. When they're reading, do you have a narrator that's in your head speaking, or do you have you speaking, a narrator in your head, or does this alternate, or is it just like word? There's no narrator. Steve
It, dep-
Magnus. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, it depends on the source material. Like if it's an author that I don't really know, then I kind of read it in my own voice. But if it's like, I was reading the short stories of Woody Allen, and yeah, his voice just kind of pops into your head as you read it, and you're just like, I'm gonna read it as like an imitation of Woody Allen, or even that excerpt that you sent me yesterday, the Werner Herzog book.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but read it in his like German American accent.
Do you know it's really weird because when I was writing up when I was reading my notes before this, I thought coincidentally I had this question, but we also just talked about it. But I saw it maybe 2 months ago with Steve Magnus. He was talking about for the first time. I guess he had the conversation with somebody, and he was like, "I had no idea other people had narrators in their head." He's like, "I just have like words. Never once has it sounded like anybody." And I was like, "Really? Ever? That's strange." And I guess it's like maybe a thing. You can or cannot have a narrator. Because I love having a narrator in my head. You change it up. Um, but anyway, I not much to say other than it was an enjoyable watch. I liked it. It was fun.
There was this one scene that I maybe you could help me out with it. I didn't really quite get, but old little Mitch goes back to his room, and there's a woman, a grown woman,
Yeah.
waiting to seduce him and kiss him. One, how did that come about? Two, he immediately like leaves and goes and finds his like, I think she's a little bit on the spectrum, girlfriend. Uh,
You think?
do you think? I'm
I
asking you
think.
now.
I think. Yeah.
But very nice girl. But like, where did that? What? Huh?
I don't know. Yeah. I think when your mind is always on lasers, you know, you don't have enough capacity for anything else. And it translates into the movie where things just don't make sense.
Why is the U.S. government trying to, you know, contract a group of smart college kids to build a weapon of single destruction?
I think it's a pretty easy solution. They're going to use it to their advantage in war. What do you mean? Or you're asking the question the students?
Why are they choosing to give this project to just college kids? Like, why?
If I had to guess, Stephen, the project is being assigned to like 5 or 10 or 20 groups, and they just happen to also be one of them.
Oh,
They need the
okay.
laser. Yeah, they're just outsourcing. They need that laser, and so they have multiple groups, entities working on it.
Is that ethical to give it to college students who don't know what they're building and doing?
Is it ethical to do that for anyone?
Well, yeah, you're right. You're right on that point. You got to give everybody all the information they need to know why they're doing the thing they're doing, right?
Do you though? Do you really? I mean, you're just outsourcing the ability for somebody to create and supply you. Basically, you're paying somebody to do a job. Just because you're not the CEO of the company, you don't understand the complexities of everything that's going on. Like, for example, the menu that you have at your work. You may not understand everything.
But I do know the end goal is not to you know, make somebody in their life or whatever, kill somebody. Like that's the end goal for this laser, is to like get Fidel Castro and beam him out of the sky. Like, we saw it. We saw the video.
I just think if you're paying somebody to do a job and they can do that job, then it's a college student or not, it's irrelevant to me. The illegality of it, there might be an issue there, but nonetheless, fun time. I had a fun ride. So memory definitely altered my viewpoint of this. I've seen Brazil so many times that my viewpoint didn't change. If anything, I can go back and watch it 1,000 times and see slight differences here and there, but lovely watch. Brazil, that is.
Brazil, let's get into it. How about that? Brazil is a 1985 sci-fi dystopian dark humor satire, directed by Terry Gilliam. Gilliam? I don't know how to say it. We'll call him Terry. Written by him and Tom Stoppard. Tom Stoppard, one of my favorite playwrights. If you've ever heard of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, just the wordplay in that, you can definitely see it in here. I did a play of that in college. That's why I'm dropping it. But it's starring Jonathan Pryce as Sam Lowry. You have Robert De Niro, Ian Holm, Michael Pollan, Catherine Hellmond, and Bob Hoskins as Spore. But let's go through some of the taglines real quick of this film. I didn't look up any taglines for Real Genius, but boy, Brazil has some good ones. We're all in this together. That's the propaganda poster. It's about flights of fantasy and the nightmare of reality, terrorist bombings and late night shopping, true love, and creative plumbing. That's all one tagline. And suspicion breeds confidence. Remember that, John. Suspicion breeds confidence. Brazil is a 1985 dystopian satire set in a bureaucratic Orwellian society. Sam Lowry, he's a low-level government worker, and he escapes his monotonous life through heroic daydreams. A clerical error leads to the wrongful death of an innocent man, drawing Sam into the lives of Jill Layton, a woman resembling his dream heroine, and Harry Tuttle, a rogue engineer. As Sam pursues Jill, he rebels against the system, erasing her records and defying his superiors. However, the government captures Sam, and he is tortured by his friend Jack Lint. Retreating into his dream world, Sam imagines a happy escape with Jill, while in reality, he's left broken and delusional. It's a pretty sad state of affairs with the end of this movie.
Yeah, but it's happy. Would you take the sadness out? I have to ask.
Wow.
Have to ask. It's not often. Only twice that I can remember. Who's the better Lowry? Mike Lowry or Sam Lowry?
I mean, there's no contest. It's Mike Lowry.
I didn't know. I thought you were on the other path here. I thought you were going to go Sam, and I was like, wait a second.
No recency bias here. No, Sam Lowry is he's played perfect by our guy Jonathan Pryce. Shout out Jonathan Pryce, who I just watched in Slow Horses. He's great, but he's just like this. He has no ambition. Doesn't want to move up in the ranks of the world. Has these daydreams of him soaring as like a Pegasus over the clouds. It's very, very, very strange. There was actually supposed to be half the film was supposed to be that daydream, but Tom Stoppard came in and said, like, we need to write more, because Terry Gilliam is more about the visuals and less about like the dialogue and the writing. And Tom came in and stepped in. It's like, no, we got to flesh this out, which I'm glad he did.
Yeah, thank God, because all of those shots were actually one continuous shot, and it was supposed to be the intro to the movie. Could you imagine? It would be, honestly, it would be unwatchable to me. I don't know. It would just be the strangest thing maybe ever created. Like, how do you even transition after like 15 and 20 minutes of that? It'd be like, where do we go next? Yeah. And none of this makes sense anymore. Like, I don't know what's happening, but The truth shall make you free. Uh, I love the repetition of the joke of triplets. When Sam was when two people were meeting each other and he had forgotten that uh, the man had triplets or children at all, and was like, "Oh the hell, I've had triplets." He's like, "Oh, how time flies!" Just like throwing it in as if that like answers the question of, "Did you know he had triplets or not?" Just so weird, but he repeats it again. Terrific joke though.
Apparently, Terry didn't get the joke, and Tom was like, "No, trust me, like it's funny. Like just leave it in." And he
It's
left it in.
hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a major question though for you. I appreciate the fact that they have multiples other, but they have a third shoe in often some of their shots, and they wear it on their head. My question to you is, what shoe do you think would be a Stephen Rankin extraordinaire shoe?
Oh gosh, man, probably my favorite pair of shoes that I ever had. That if I had to like, am I turning it into a hat too? Like, do I have to wear it on my head?
It's a hat. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a hat, and
Okay,
it doesn't have to be matching of your other two shoes. Whatever you like.
great. I had a pair of the Answers, and
Mm.
if you don't know what the answer is, it's a shoe by Allen Iverson.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the Answers. The first one, my favorite, and I got the Answers too. But I'd still stick with Allen Iverson's the answer right
What
there on the
color?
top of my head. Black and white. It's like the black and white kind of
I had them as well.
perfection.
Terrific shoe, unbelievable shoe. Yeah, they don't. Did they make shoes as good as they did do now back then?
I don't
Love
know.
that shoe. Good choice. Big fan.
What about you? Where are you at on this?
I thought about this, so I had the time to reflect. I was thinking of when I was traveling to Germany. I've been here a couple times to Fusen, Germany, to Neuschwanstein Castle, and I remember seeing some art there. The crazy King Ludwig II from Bavaria, and I think he was just out of his gourd. Beautiful place though, and I remember his like just laughing, being drunk at college student, drunk and laughing at like the art basically, and from heel to knee boot, and I was like that just seems so uncomfortable. Like, what are we doing? Is this like a horse riding boot? Anyway, I have a lot of questions, but I figured that having that on my head would be like an elephant trunk. It'd be like I would have to be of a higher status, right? So I
I
would have
mean,
to say a black boot.
is it stuffed? Is it filled, or is it just like kind of
Mm,
shaggy, kind of down? Because like
it's
I'm
just like a
thinking,
leather boot.
does it flop? Can you like come down like
No,
this?
it.
Flops
Let's
around.
just say it's fully erect, Stephen.
Okay, that's
So
what I wanted to
basically,
know.
it's fully erect, and sometimes if I'm going in my convertible, it might hit the tops of buildings or roads, roads. But yeah, elephant trunk, fully erect though.
You would stand out, and I would hate you at a concert. Not like you at all.
Yeah. But I could have I could put things in it. It would be like my Merce. They're like, "Where's that?" I can't reach it. And then I'd have to have like a contraption to like get things out of it. You could fill it with beer. Terrific ideas here, honestly.
Very, very
A
terrific ideas.
constant shoey, if you will. But yeah, the shoes on the heads, I loved it. Good stuff.
I wish you didn't tell me this before I saw it, because you kind of dropped the name of Robert De Niro's in this movie, and at first I thought you were just joshing me, um, and then he shows up as
Yeah.
Harry Tuttle, and apparently, him and Terry are good friends, and he was offered any part in the film, and originally he was going to be the Jack Lint character, the friend of Sam Lowry, uh, but it just didn't work out that well. And he took on the part of Harry Tuttle. He's basically the Batman of this world, you know.
There was a lot of frustration
The
between the two of them.
oh yeah, why is that?
Yeah, there were a lot of Terry is like a creative people just doing 2 to 3 takes, And Bob's like, he demanded to do like between 25 and 50 takes. And Terry, and like he was asking the the most nuanced questions of the details of pretty much anything you can ever imagine of the, oh, well, what happens if I place this here? And Terry's like, just fucking do the take, man. Like, what are we talking about? But Bob like refused to just do two or three takes, and he wanted to do like all these different versions, which Terry eventually allowed him to do so. But it was supposed to be a week of shooting, which ended up bleeding into the second week and 2 full weeks of shooting just those short parts by old Robert De Niro. Um, but yeah, afterwards Terry was not too enthused, but they did say afterwards that they would still work with each other. Um, but I found that to be hilarious, like just a purely creative human. And then Bob's like, "No, I got this. We're gonna go all the way." Your Brazil movie, dude's just flying through the sky. Of course, I'm gonna crush this role, but he did
He did.
exceptionally well.
Amazing. Man, I mean, there's a lot of things about this film that are so present. They were making fun of and satire during this film, but now they're just kind of normalized, I feel like, in today's society. And
Such as
I
what?
gotta, I mean, just the fact that, like, you could talk about the whole bureaucracy of things and like paperwork and everything like that, but like, I mean, just with this past week's like fucking tragedies that happened, man, with the terrorism going on in the world, and we just kind of pick up and like, well, we got to
Oh
play a
yeah,
football game.
yeah,
We, you know what I mean? And
yeah, for sure.
it's become so normalized in our culture that it's just like seeing in this movie, like the people are just dining and they're picking mush off the menu, and an explosion happens, and the waiters come in and they just put a little curtain across so you don't see it, but it's there, and there's no reaction, and it's just fucking wild.
That is true. It's very much the reaction we have on a social media platform. Just terrorism happening and then people just getting over it. And then, Justin resigning from Prime Minister of Canada. Yeah, it's weird, man. The whole news cycle and the totality of it. A lot of this is based on our, 1984, as Terry has intimated, but not all of it. Yeah, it is sad though that we're still here. This is made as a joke, but we're in it. It's going to be interesting to see where we go from here, though, as humans in a race of us. But anyway,
It's
gives a
wild.
whole new meaning to babyface, huh?
Sure does. That was creepy as hell. Like I said, that was one of the images that turned me away from this film. Um, but I will say, like, what what would be your job in this society? What would you be
Oh,
doing?
I'm Sam Lowry. I don't want to
Oh
get.
yeah,
I don't want to get. I'm not ruffling feathers in this weird world, man. I don't know what is possible and what can happen. Give me the most bland, boring job. Maybe after like a few weeks, I can. I don't know, dude. People are getting offed by accidental name like nomenclature issues. Not for me. Give me the most bland, boring position. I'll do that day in, day out, and go away. Take the blue pill.
would you
But
be?
I want to be challenged. But I want to be challenged, people.
Your biggest challenge is sharing a desk with somebody against the other wall. That would be your
Ooh,
biggest
that's
challenge.
tough. That's tough. Sharing a desk with somebody is very difficult. That would probably be a very good challenge and one that I would embrace. Sharing a desk with Dwight as Jim in the office, difficult. It's a difficult challenge. You have to get over a few things.
You might get a Jello mold out of your stapler. Who knows? Could happen.
Who knows? Do you have a stapler at home?
I do not. No, I've gotten rid of all staplers out of my life, and in my professional life as well as my personal life.
Pause. We have do you have angst against staplers and paper being together?
No, I have angst of the actual staples getting loose and finding its way on the floor and stepping on it, or accidentally getting into a jar of pudding and swallowing it and eating it. Like those are things that I just don't want in my life. So like little tiny things like that around the house and thousands of them on a ream uh, just don't bode well.
You a big fan of paper clips?
I don't even. Oh yeah, I do. I do like paper clips because they come in handy when I need to like clean out some things on my phone,
To rob a
um,
neighbor?
to rob a neighbor. Yeah, it's. I don't really have a lot of reasons to bind multiple sheets of paper together. It's just not in my life right now.
This is maybe my favorite part of this podcast ever. Talking about staples and paper clips and
Do you?
the
Are you a big
adjoining.
office junkie of small items?
We have approximately 3 staplers in this household, and probably we don't have no staples just randomly in pudding either, mind you. It can happen. But yeah, big fan of staplers. Big fan of staples. I also have a staple gun that I use the chicken coop. It doesn't really work too well, but it does shoot out well. It just doesn't hold. But anyway, I have to get back to the movie, and I have another question for you because I found this to be an interesting idea or concept, and it's something that in Beverly Hills probably happens very frequently, and they just call them parties. I heard there's like divorce parties these days. Interesting, fascinating. Maybe it's not even true. I don't know. Maybe I read it on Reddit. But after cosmetic surgery, plastic surgery, parties, how do you think that's gonna? You think that's a cool thing? Like, you don't want to have a part. Like, do people actually want to have parties to show off their new faces, or they just want to go away for 2 weeks? I don't even know how long it takes. They want to go away for 2 months, come back and be like, "Oh wow, they've really worked on themselves." And you're under the cover or undercover trying to get it done. I feel like the latter is more likely.
I can't wrap my head around something like this. One, I, you know, I think I'm perfect in my own way, and I don't need any plastic surgery. Um, and two, I don't know. I don't honestly know too many people that would invite me to one of those parties. I don't
Because
think I'd
nobody
be
invites you to
invited.
parties.
Well, there are gatherings that I attend without invitation, and I would consider those parties. But
That's
yeah, I
called
mean,
work.
oh, I do get paid. Um,
That's true.
so yeah, this seems like a weird concept. Like I get like, you know, uh, people getting fired from work or leaving work. They call them 86 parties. I get, birthday showers or baby showers, but like, oh, somebody, changed the shape of their nose and got their ears pinned back. Let's, you know, pop a bottle. Like, I don't get that.
It's funny because the reality of what you were speaking to earlier about their like the reality of terrorism and just us like next news cycle. Like, what do we have next? And like forgetting what happened yesterday. The same kind of for this. It's sad in that there are many people, and I think that the 84-year-old, I can't remember her name, but the cat woman, I think she recently passed away last week. Just had so much plastic surgery, and there are some examples of people going a little too far in the plastic surgery domain, and it's sad that both of those things are spot on accurate. Wonder what else Terry's got next for us.
Well, even yeah, I mean, even in this film, the lady that like is like keeps deteriorating after every operation. She's like, "Oh, the doctor said it'd be fine. I'm just going to heal up a little bit more."
Can we do this every week? We'll have a segment of Steven's something voice.
Yeah, we can
Let's
do
talk
that.
about nuclear reactors. I will have to
Uh,
say this: the concept is brilliant, confusing at times, but I love it. I don't try to make sense of everything, including actually probably everything in the movie is slightly confusing to me. It doesn't have to match up and doesn't necessarily have to be perfect. But I like the crazy camera angles in the world. First of all, the world he's created, but secondly, the camera angles that he's taken in a lot of his shots kind of threw me off, and it just like so strange, but it kind of wrapped me into that world that he had created, and it added like an additional level of just weirdness. He wasn't shooting from like traditional angles or uh, of traditional things for that matter, but very, very Terry forward. If you've ever seen any of his other films,
Yeah, I mean, he's such a visual storyteller in that sense. Like I said, with the whole like writing of the film, he had more interest in like he said he would like even like it to be half of a silent film. Like I could tell a story that way. Um, and it's just amazing, yeah, how he shot it, how he framed it, the weird angles and things that he used. Just a brilliant film. I do want to talk about this film and its release. Do you know the story behind it?
no. Mm-mm.
It's wild, man. There's a whole documentary. I haven't seen it, but
Oh
I've
wow.
done some research on it, and I'll give a little gist of what happened. So Warner Brothers has this film, and they give Terry pretty much complete control. But when the finished film comes out, it's his final product is 7 minutes over the runtime that Warner Brothers wanted,
Okay.
right? And so they use this as a claim. Well, we can re-edit the film because they didn't like the sad ending. They wanted to make it a happy ending,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Warner Brothers had U.S. distribution rights. They didn't have international distribution rights. I think Universal had that, and so it goes over to Europe and does really well. Like people like it, and it's Terry's version, right? But it hasn't been released in the U.S. yet because Terry is fighting tooth and nail to be like, no, I want my cut. I want
Yeah.
the sad ending. That's the movie. And they're fighting back and forth. And they're basically Warner Brothers says, we're not going to release it. We're not going to do it. And so they didn't. Terry takes a full page ad in the in Vanity Fair and calls out the producer of the film saying, "Release my movie, Sid." That's all he says. Somehow, the movie gets into the hands of like USC students and other like film producers around Hollywood, and there's like secret viewing parties in Beverly Hills and stuff like that. And then the LA uh, awards show, I forget what it's called, but it's like this kind of LA Film Critics Award show, I think is what it is. This
Yeah.
film had never got released, but they saw in the bylaws that a film doesn't have to be released to be awarded. So this film wins
Oh,
Best Director, Best Movie, Best Writing, all at the LA Film Critics Award. And so
that's
they're like,
cool.
okay, we have to release this film. And so they
Yeah,
finally
yeah,
do.
yeah. That's cool. That's really
It's
cool.
wild.
It reminds me of Alejandro Jodorowsky's The Holy Mountain on that didn't get released from like the early 70s to like 40 years or something. So, something crazy.
That's
It's
even more
weird.
wild.
Isn't it strange? Like who decided 7 minutes? Like who cares? Like why can't you just have a like go watch the movie and you're like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense actually." Like why have this I don't know. I don't know. I don't even get in the business. I don't know shit about book. Just
So
seems dumb.
there is the Warner Brothers cut of this film where they parsed it down to just at 90 minutes. I think this was like a 2 hour and 12-minute film, something like that. But they cut it down to 90 minutes, and it's supposedly absolutely atrocious. And if like this movie got released that way, we wouldn't be talking about it. It'd just be this like forgotten 1985 film.
Yeah.
It was that bad.
I'm glad it was like this. It's one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen. I remember when I watched it for the first time, I was like, this may well be the weirdest film
I feel like
ever.
there's because we've done quite a few movies now on this podcast, and I think there's a direct like relationship from the movie Problemista because he has these like flights of fantasy
Yeah.
with this absurdism in real life, and I think he takes a lot of Terry into his film as well, which it's cool seeing like doing this long podcast this podcast over a long time and seeing all these movies and seeing the inspiration that people take from them. It's really wild, fun
He
stuff.
inspired me. I mean, when I was in 7th grade, I realized what Monty Python was through some videotapes that my friend Chris White, his father had. and I was instantaneously hooked. And I wasn't hooked on the movies yet. I was hooked on like just like their sketches basically, and which then bled into all the rest of the movies. But yeah, seventh grade, Terry had me hook, line, and sinker for pretty much anything that they did in the future, and he did. But big fan. But I can't believe, speaking of number of movies, like this is going to be number 96 and 7 of the movies we've rated, which is wild. In episode 50, I mean, we're coming up on a full stinking year, just a few weeks away. We're already back into Oscar, like award season, and I feel
It's
like we
wild.
just ended that with Past Lives. You know,
Yeah, we
just
just had the
very
Golden
odd.
Globes last night. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was heading into the city to watch. I can't even remember the name. What's the
The Boy and the Heron.
studio? There we go. And it just feels like yesterday. And here we are, about 100 movies in.
It's wild,
Strange,
man.
weird world. But anyway, why don't we get to
Oh,
ratings?
I had a question. Did you
Sure.
prepare any foreign language titles for me to guess?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you said you were going to do it. But that's okay. Maybe
Did
next
I?
week. Yeah.
No, I'm gonna. It's gonna come at you random. I thought you wanted you were forcing me into me doing it.
Well, I was going to ask you the title, and you came up with the whatever you thought. But that's okay. We can save
Yeah,
this
yeah.
for
Save it for
later.
another day, a rainy day. Um, real genius. First of all, great and genius title. Real stumper. Um, yeah, I enjoy it. I think I probably don't want to watch it again. I'm not sure what to give it, so we can have a discussion here. Um, but I have it at 2.5 stars, 2.5 glasses. Never gonna get this right, but that's pretty much what I have this. But go down to one. What do you think?
I'm I'm at 1.5.
Oh wow,
Again, it's an absurd idea of a movie with a half good cast. I wouldn't say a great cast, um, but it's not a movie that I could ever like. I could never. I don't think I could ever sit down and watch it again. I'm good on that. Uh, it
I
was
mean, maybe if you're
fun.
doing some research on lasers, how to build a laser,
Yeah, yeah.
you get some insight.
If I was trying to do that, but yeah, it's a 1.5 for me. I gotta keep the precious glasses, to another film this week.
And what do you got for Brazil?
I was teetering on this on whether I could, because I don't have a history with this film, and a lot of people do. Um, but I think with what he does and with what he says, and the satire of it and the world building of it, I'm giving it golden glasses.
Oof. Wow.
It's up there
You
for
know,
me, man.
that's strong. I love Brazil. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. But I see this as a 4.5 glasses movie. I mean, what makes it 5 to you?
I think just I love absurdism in movies. Like it's one of my favorite things,
You didn't like Real
and
Genius.
that was more corny
So if you
than
go
absurd.
real corny, it becomes absurd. Is that kind of thing?
No, I think if it's biting,
Mm.
it has a little satire towards it. Then you can get into the stretchy face and the baby masks and be like,
The
okay,
substance. There's substance
yeah,
there. Yeah.
exactly. Um, and I think this is, if Terry has a masterpiece, this is it.
All
I've
right.
seen I've seen
We can give it
a good,
5.
good amount of his films, but I think this is his masterpiece.
Fear and
Yeah.
Loathing, near and dear to my heart, but Brazil and the totality of everything, it's just so ridiculous and so absurd. But it's a fun one. I'm glad you got to watch 2 brand new movies. Some of these are not as good as others, but Nonetheless, what do we have next week?
Next week's not going to be brand new at all. Actually, it's actually going to be a revisit to some of my favorite films and one of my favorite directors, in Hal Ashby. We're dipping into the well of the 70s. Is Being There 80? I don't know.
That's
anyways,
80s.
I think they're both 70s. Okay. Well, anyways,
No.
we're dipping our toe into Hal Ashby. I've got Harold and Maude. What do you have, Jonathan?
I have Being There, which strangely enough I just saw recently, 1979. So looks like we're talking about 270s. But anyway, I don't want to get into it now, but this is going to be a fun one. And I think you were the person that actually got me to watch Being There years upon years ago.
Yeah.
So here we go.
I'm excited about it.
Till next week.
Consumers for Christ.